All right, checking in with Orlando Furioso by Ludvigo Aristo, and we are indeed on this Canto 28, Canto 28, where we're hearing the landlord's story, which is about a king, Astolfo. Which is this the same Astolfo? He is a very vain king who thinks he is the most gorgeous, beautiful man in the world, and he's talking to his friend. Is it friend? And he says like, "Well, you are, except for my brother, who is also gorgeous." And he says, "Well, I want to see him. You have to prove this to me." Well, he never leaves his hometown, the hometown he lives in, and he's deeply in love with his wife. But I'll see if I can get him to come. And he goes to this friend, and the friend's like, "Okay, I will go. This will be the first time I leave. The first time I leave my wife." He goes, but he's like, his wife gave him a ring or something, a keepsake, and he's like, "Oh shit, I forgot that." So he goes back, and he finds his wife. Like he hasn't been gone. Like he's been gone like half a day or whatever, and there's his wife in bed with some young guy, boinking away, and it just devastates him. But he doesn't. He loves his wife so much he doesn't want to disturb her. He doesn't want to hurt her, so he just steals away, and it just breaks him. And but indeed, by the time he finally makes it to Astolfo, his looks are gone because he is just so morose and miserable and sunken cheek and stuff like that. And they kind of tend to him. They put him up. They put him up in a high castle room where he hears noises coming from the next room. He looks through a gap, and there is Astolfo's wife being fucked by a dwarf, a hunchback dwarf, and it's like, and this cheers him up because it's like, wow, like my wife couldn't resist a gorgeous young strapping dude, but at least I don't. My wife didn't like give way to some It's like this is all very ableist. This misshapen, ugly short dude. Is how it is very sensitively put in this medieval poem. And he's feeling better. And also, Sofa's like, "Oh, why are you feeling better?" And he says, "Well, this is why I'm feeling better." And he shows him. And he's also, and they make some promise you're not going to take revenge or do anything. And it's like they both get so depressed so that they decide, okay, screw it. No wives are faithful. We're two incredibly gorgeous guys. We're gonna travel and have our way with a whole bunch of married women because none of them are faithful. And indeed, they have no trouble with this. They offer money, but their money is returned. The women just want to have sex with these gorgeous men. And of course, it's the thesis of this whole thing told by the landlord is that, oh, all women are cheaters. He's telling it to Rodomonte, who's been has had his hopes dashed because his lady love has picked another Mandicardo. Dorlis has picked another. So yes. So they go on all these things, and they, of course, all the women are super happy, but they also left behind a whole bunch of like really unhappy husbands thirsting for revenge. So they decide, okay, you know what would be the best thing to do? Let's find a woman that we just share between us, and that we're not going to be jealous of each other. We can, like, when one of us is finished with her, the other one can start. And so basically, they procure from an innkeeper a young woman, buy her. They buy her, and she's now their mistress, their paid for mistress. And yeah, they're happy as clams. I don't. No one asks a woman how she is doing. This young woman how she is doing. They come to a place. They're traveling around. They come to a place where the young woman bumps into a young guy who has loved her all her life. She's never particularly given one inclination of what she is and that. She's like, "Oh, I'd like to." It's like, I was going to ask to marry you," and she's like, "Well, that's probably too late. I'm with these guys now. It's too bad." It's like, "Oh, but I would like one night of delight before, so I can go to my deathbed happy." And she said, "But how are we going to do it?" She's like, "Because once that one's done, the next one starts. I have to be in that bed." And so that she said, and she's like, "Oh, but I can devise a plan." So that night he creeps into the bed. She's between the two knights. She spreads her legs. He slips up, jumps on, and goes to town and is going to town all night long. And the thing is the two knights have been kind of educated, like they both hear, they both feel the thrusting and all that going on, and so neither of them, they think, oh, the other knight is just having a really good night, so neither of them interferes, and he steals away, and after, just as the light of day is coming, she opens the curtains, and the servants come in, and the both the knight and the king, because Astolfo is the king, and the knight, they start congratulating each other about how well they've done. And they no, it's like, no, you did well, no, you did well, and they start kind of like getting angry at each other, and they call they call this girl Fiammetta, is her name. uh they call her, yes, because it's Giocondo and Astolfo. Giocondo is the knight, and Astolfo is the king, and Fiammetta is this young girl. And so she falls to her knees and says, I'm sorry, I just had to give him one night of delight, and please don't, they she said how Greco, that's the name of the young guy, hoped to trick them both in such a way they'd never know the truth. And they look at each other and they just burst out in laughter, like going like, Jesus, they throw their heads back open mouthed and screw their eyes up, scarce a breath can either can fetch, as on the bed both fall and helpless stretch. These two happy gorgeous men just stretched out on the bed to each other. Never shall swords cross, I guess, but yeah. They they're like, they ask each other, how can we make sure our wives are faithful when no power on earth our rights in this one woman can secure? We lay so close to her, what was the worth? If husbands had as many eyes as hairs, their wives would still betray them unawares. Yeah, that's, if a husband had as many eyes as hairs, their wives would still betray them unawares, which is, yeah, it's one of those, it's a point of view. It's a point of view in these stories of, yet again, it's just sort of this impossibility, this thing of male anxiety over this thing of wanting to possess a woman, and being unable to control a woman. And this whole society is all set up on this kind of bullshit. And so in the end, yeah, it's like, let's go home, enjoy our wives ourselves, and cease to roam. And there's actually one last paragraph I should have done, which was that they said, they sent Fiammetta first to fetch her lover, and they blessed the pair with many witnesses. And they gave her a dowry, generous and fair, and mounting the horses, they reversed their route from west to east. Quite soon they were united with their wives, and from that day no fault they found with them in any way. So I guess they came to a more realistic, perhaps more open relationship, because there's no doubt that these guys are fucking around all over the place. So I guess it's fine if it's like, maybe it's okay if our wives fuck around as well, and we should just kind of try not to make that an agreement. There's definitely a thing here for open marriage. There's a menage a trois in the middle of this thing. It's unfortunate that the young woman is basically procured for it, not really. I don't know if you can say it's consent, but yeah, that is Orlando Furioso. Very, we're really getting into the sexual politics here, I guess. All right, I will leave it there. More videos later.